Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. A very special video because today is another interview with a guest magician. Earlier today I had the opportunity of being joined by LLOYD BARNES on a Skype call to record a podcast, and I'm about to share with you that whole interview that I had with him. It was a really fascinating discussion. We talked about a lot of different things, from him creating magic to his work with Ellusionist and loads of other topics in between. It was really interesting for myself, and I really hope you enjoy this conversation that I had with LLOYD BARNES. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode, another free episode of the Cavcast. Today I'm joined with a very talented magician who you will probably recognise from Instagram and many other places. He can be found all over the internet as a very creative magician. I'm joined with LLOYD BARNES. Hello LLOYD, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Cav? Cavan or Cav?
Cav is fine, Cavan is great. I don't mind either. How are we doing?
I'm going to call you Penfold. No, I'm not. I'm doing good. This is like so last minute, so sorry for like lack of preparation and and everything like this. I've literally just flipped my studio around to make a little makeshift camera setup and
that is totally okay. I'm balancing all sorts of things here. We've got a very dodgy setup. It's all been put together sort of in 5 minutes basically. So I'm just basically going to ask you some questions and we'll see where it goes. And if at any point you've got things that you want to talk about or ask me questions, that is totally fine. There's no rules as such. So I'm going to start with a very simple question that I ask to everyone, and it sounds like a very boring question, but everyone has a different story. How did you get started in magic?
So, like a lot of people, I got started in magic. My grandfather, at the age of like 5, he showed me, he was an inventor, he used to invent things, and he showed me a little trick with a post-it notepad, and he drew an old camera on there, like the old school vintage cameras. I'm looking down because my laptop's on here. And there was a square in the camera, and then he flicked it, and the square changed to a little smiley face, and it was like a really visual change. And it was like, it blew me away, and it wasn't like a normal trick, so I had no idea how it worked and things like that. And he learnt magic originally. He'd run away from home when he was 14 and in the middle of the Blitz during World War II, and joined a travelling fairground for 20 years. And he learnt magic on a travelling fairground, and then when I was born, he showed me some stuff that he'd learnt and then the things he'd made up himself. And I got into magic that way, and then I kind of was in and out of it. I was doing a lot of sports, believe it or not. And then I got injured at around the age of 15, 16. I punctured my lung, and I was supposed to be boxing. Wow. And I couldn't do anything. So in my spare time, I decided to play with some magic tricks, but I had no money. I was from a really poor family. So I then seen some tricks on television, like David Blaine specials and Paul Zenon specials, and I wanted to recreate them. And so I had to do it. I had no magic books, nothing. I didn't even have a deck of blue bikes. I remember having a deck of blue bikes, and it lasted me like 5 years.
Yeah, the first one always lasts the longest.
Exactly. I had no idea how to get another one, and it wasn't even a full deck. But then, yeah, I put some tricks up onto the old Magic Video Depot website that I'd made up, and then I got some messages from some people that wanted to buy the methods because they were new methods, and that started me basically my career in magic then, because
wow,
I don't know, somebody spotted me and went from there.
Fair enough. So you sort of dived right into the sort of industry side almost sort of very early on. A lot of people take a while before they get into the behind the curtain bit, if you like, the sort of industry and the bit that the laymen don't see as often. But you were sort of right in that world from the beginning, really.
Yeah, it was strange because when I was injured and I couldn't do anything, I was laid up for 9 months. I was just my fascination for magic went from 0 to 100 within weeks, and if not even weeks. And then when I got offered, these people that would message me, they'd offered to buy the methods from me, and I was I think I was 16, 15, and it was oh my god, I can make money from doing this, and it's not all about money, but it was I could do this from potentially for a living. It was something I loved, and I was able to not have to go to work and do it for fun, and it was straight into the deep end, without question. I didn't do any gigs or anything. It was just straight into it.
Yeah. So have you been much of a performer? Like, have you been much on the performing side, or is it mainly the creative side that you stick to?
Pretty much, the creating side 100%. I've been fortunate enough to not have to do gigs, because a lot of people do it because they love magic and they want to make it their career, so they do gigs. I was just really fortunate where I never needed to do any gigs, and the only times I've ever done anything like that was just off my own back. So I've done a few weddings and some birthday parties and things like that. Like for some reason, I really like performing at funerals. I do really well at funerals. Yeah, I love funerals because I don't know, the atmosphere there just really works well for my style of magic. But I do a lot of performing, but I just never had to do it for gigs. I've just been really fortunate. But I perform all the time and probably annoys people. What about you? What are you doing? Are you a performing magician, or what do you do?
Yeah. I'm a performer and trying my hand at trying to sell my own creations. But the majority of what I do is performing. Sort of the weddings especially. But at the moment, it's all about Halloween at the moment, especially when we're recording this. So tomorrow I've got a Halloween gig, and the day after I've got a Halloween gig. So that's what's surprising to a lot of people, is just how much it changes, because as soon as that's out of the way, now we're on to Christmas. Then it's all about the Christmas themed magic.
Have you got anything prepared in your set specifically for Halloween?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. My repertoire changes with the seasons in a way. It is crazy. So when it comes to Christmas, obviously a lot of the magic becomes, well, not even the magic, the tricks tend to remain the same, but I find the presentation changes a lot. Even just little things that you wouldn't even necessarily think of. I like changing my repertoire quite a lot. So when it comes to you performing, when you perform for friends or anything, do you have tricks that you like to do time and time again, that you just feel that you get drawn back to the same effects, or are you always experimenting with new things?
It's definitely like a mixture of both, because I have certain, so I everything I perform is on me all the time, whether I'm not going to do magic at all. So I have a bunch of stuff in my wallet. I wear rubber bands. I tend to carry a deck of cards, but it's not all the time. And then so I'll have tricks ready. I like my phone has a bunch of like magic apps on there and things like that. So I tend to have a backup, but for the majority of the time that I perform now, I have ideas that I've been working on, whether it's for my own personal stuff, whether it's for Ellusionist or for like somebody I'm consulting on TV. So I try to use like a few standard tricks that I throw in there that I just know work to get like my crowd on side, and then I'll sprinkle in the new stuff in between it and sort of layer out. But it's always evolving. Like I never ever. It's very rare that I do. If I perform like 4 tricks, it's very rare. They'll always be the same 4. It's very, very rare.
Yeah, sort of constantly on the move when it comes to what you're performing.
Yeah, I think it helps as well, like being a better performer, because if it's like a singer, if a singer only has a one-hit wonder and they just perform that song all the time, and then someone says, like say it's Mambo No. 5 by Lou Bega, and then someone says go and sing a version of Adele, and we want to commission you to do this, then they're screwed. So it helps you, like everything, like whether you work on a new coin effect, or rubber band magic, or impromptu, or even propless mentalism, it all helps like to give you to like you learn you cut your teeth on it, so you learn how to have new outs. You learn what to do in a situation where something goes wrong in a way you never thought it would go wrong, and then you apply it all back to the existing material you have and all the new things you have. And I just think it's really imperative that you always evolve in. I think it's really important for every performer.
Well, I was looking through your Instagram just before we went on this interview, and I'm noticing a trend of, again, like you said, like the magic is very organic. It's not done with props that are unusual in any way. It's coins, it's rubber bands, it's cards, it's that sort of thing. Do you think that's a lot more powerful, or will you occasionally go for more traditional props like linking rings or ropes, or things that are slightly more associated with just magic rather than the real world?
There's a couple of different facets to it for me. Like I know, like for social media, the videos that work best, that get like the most engagement, are ones that I find look the most aesthetically pleasing. So if you're going to do like a pen through note, like a pen through bill, you could just put a pen through a bill. But if you thought, what could just make this look interesting? Like, could I wrap a playing card around it with a hole torn out the center? And then you hold it up and you take a photo and think, that just looks interesting. You can't not watch to see what that's going to become or going to happen in that. So sometimes I think what's just going to look aesthetically pleasing, just for my viewers to see something different. And then sometimes I'm a massive fan of the classics of Magic. But what I like about them is transferable concepts and ideas and methods. So, for example, I think it's important as a magician you try and learn how everything works, and not just to be that guy who's like, I know how it's done, but more so if you see a levitation effect on stage, then you're like, oh, that's an incredible principle. How can I apply that to a visual change of a coin? Well, maybe it's done with thread. So now you're going to change a coin where the thread is holding the coin behind your hand, and then as you move your hand away, it reveals. You know, I just love this concept of taking the old principles and concepts that are applied in other areas, and then putting that into newer, more organic magic, and then trying to see what new things come out of it. And I often, a lot of times, you get some really wild things. Like I found a trick in a magic book years ago, in a science book, where you put salt and pepper and you mix it together and you put it in a bowl or on a dish or on a table, and you get a hair comb and you scrape the hair comb through it and it separates the salt and pepper. And it's just an old science principle. So I was working on a TV show about 5 years ago, and one of the effects was to take a mug of sugar. So you put sugar in a mug and then you swirl it and it visually flourishes and becomes coffee beans. And I used the same concept of the granules were smaller in the sugar than the coffee. So you have a layer of coffee, a thick layer of sugar on top, and when you swirl it, the granules fall down. So I took that science principle and applied it to something a lot more organic, and it became a visual piece of magic as opposed to just a little science.
Yeah, that is something that I've always admired in your work, is taking methods and using them in ways that make everyone go, why didn't I think of that? Because it's so, you know, it's using something in such a clever way, and I think that is something that a lot of people will, you know, think of when they think of you.
When you say like, why didn't I think of that? I think a lot of my magic is that I don't consider myself very intelligent or creative in any stretch of the imagination, but I think a lot of good magic, I think a lot of good anything comes from knowing what you appreciate and putting in other areas. Like, for instance, you could have a singer, I know I'm going back to music, but I think magic's very similar. You could have a singer who's got a certain style of voice that could sing a cover of a song which would absolutely change it and blow it out the water, right? And it's the same with magic. It's like, I put a video up, I mean, a lot of things I do, but like one example was using the WoW gimmick. So, you know, you can change your playing card with WoW. And I was like, well, why don't we use that for a Torn or Sword card? So I put a video up of just tearing the corner off a card and having it visually restore it with a WoW gimmick. So it's not so much that I didn't come up with a WoW gimmick, I didn't come up with a Torn or Sword card, but melding those two concepts together, it came up with something really beautiful that looks like real magic. And it was, I can't really take any credit for it because it was just two existing ideas, and I was just the one that found the way to make them fit.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the music analogy, I've used this a lot, even on other episodes of this, where I talk about like notes in music being very similar to like techniques or things in magic. So like no one came up with these notes, or if they did, no one knows, you know, where they originate from, but you can take the same notes and create different chords. So, you know, in a way it's that, a trick is just sort of a chord, if you like. It's made up of different parts, and it's how you use those. So I guess sort of your use of them is something that I think people will admire when they watch your videos, certainly from a magician's point of view. And in a way that's sort of what I want to touch on, is when you create a piece of magic, are you creating it with the intention of laymen watching it, or magicians, or both? Which was your sort of target audience?
I primarily focus now, it depends what arena I'm in. So if it's creating for TV, it'll be for laymen. I have certain constraints for that, which I don't like to be camera tricks or stooges. It has to be within the realms of reality. Like, it must be performable. On Instagram, like, I have a thing. So on my Instagram, I block all laymen. So I don't, like, anyone that adds me that doesn't do magic, I block them, or I try to block as many as I can, because I'm not the best performer in the world. I'm not like David Blaine, or I'm not like Juan Tamariz, but I'm aware that my audience are magicians that want to see new ideas. So what I create for my social media, I will create to try and not fool magicians, but give them food for thought and get them to watch it and be like, oh, okay, now that's inspired me. That was the missing piece I needed to do this effect. But then when I perform magic for laymen, when I create magic for laymen, it's the polar opposite. I don't care about if it's gonna fool them with an ACAN, or I don't care if it's the ultimate method to the piece-by-piece restoration. I'm just thinking about what is gonna rip their heads off when they see this. Like, no holds barred.
So it's sort of purely about effect when it comes to sort of magic for laymen, yeah.
Yeah, purely for effect. And, a lot, like, all my magic online is visual. And in the real world, I'd say like 80% of my magic is like more, it's a lot of it's visual, but it's not always visual. A lot of it is like for that wow moment, or it's a lot of it's mentalism with a reveal in like a really interesting way that's not just always visual. And I think it's important to it's so important to differentiate between when people are going to watch you and knowing whether they can see that you're just amusing yourself and they give you like slow claps, and it's important to read your audience and know when something is just going to absolutely appeal to them and make them just love the effect, like love what you
I think that is very, very wise words. It's an important lesson for anyone learning magic. Actually, I definitely take that in. It is about the audience.
I could be wrong. There could be people who, I know there's some guys out there, like, look at Masado doing Masado rings. Like, pretty much, I don't know his full set, so disclaimer, but pretty much when you see Masado perform, it's just the Lincoln rings. And that, to some people, like certain people prefer mentalism because they feel if you can get inside their head, that's the strongest thing you can do. And some people prefer visual tricks. And some people prefer to know how it's done. Where you've got like a performer like Masado who goes out and just rocks those Lincoln rings 24/7, I think. And all his audiences love him, regardless. They all react to it, So there is two sides to that concept of, whether you're doing it just for yourself, but you're so good at it, they can't not love you, or whether you're doing it for them. And both of them work if you can do it right.
It's a tricky one. Yeah, it's a tricky sort of balance, I guess.
What sort of magic do you perform?
A lot of mentalism nowadays. I've changed it up. I used to be a card guy. I used to be cards all the way. My whole magic bag was, decks of cards on top of decks of cards, and now it's varied so much. I go in for a lot of mentalism. I'm even performing coin magic, which if my past self could hear me now, they'd go, "What? Coin magic? You must be mad."
I think coin magic's making a comeback. I really think coin magic's making a cut.
I think it will. Certainly I've got into it. I used to stay away from it, and I don't really know why, but I used to really almost be scared of coin magic. I think that was part of it. It was a different prop to what I was used to, because I was so used to cards. I know cards inside out now, and I was sort of getting bored of it. But then, coins, it's sort of opened up a whole new... It's like learning a new instrument in a way. It's, again, comparing it to music, it's like learning a totally different instrument.
I think with coins, if you get caught palming a coin, the trick's over. Right?
Yes,
if you get caught palming a card, it can easily be part of your presentation.
Yeah.
It can be like, oh, I'm testing your perception. I'm glad you spotted it because now we can go on to the real effect. With a coin, you make a coin vanish and they catch it, that's game over, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's just walking a lot more closer to the edge with coin magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And I have been caught. I was just bringing that all back, thanks Lloyd. Bringing all those memories back of being caught palming a coin. No way out. Yeah. So just moving back to social media for a second, because I've got a question that I've sort of wanted to ask for a while actually, which is looking at a lot of your social media posts and things that you've released with Ellusionist. There's a trend with like almost slow motion magic, like making an effect slow rather than a card going, to the top of the deck or something going through an object. You tend to take that idea and just slow it down. Where's that come from? Where's that sort of slow motion idea come from?
I'm not like entirely sure why I started going so hardcore on the slow motion stuff. I think it was a lot of it was like apathy for existing magic. So there's only so many times you can watch somebody slam a coin into a bottle, and they all have a different method. One of them's a magnetic coin inside the bottle, one's a secret slit, one's on thread that it's hanging in the... There's all these different ways of doing coin in bottle. And then the idea of it all just being slammed in, it's like, well... It all just seemed like it's apples and oranges, and my thing's always been, if I could do magic, what would it look like? Because we're in the 21st century now, so whereas before, like even when you perform live, you still need to like slam the coin in usually if you haven't got a great version of it, but it's like we have to be different, we have to be pushing it ourselves, because if you're just doing the same stuff, like a flash appearance, boom, it's there's an 8 ball in your hand, then it's, I don't know, there's something to be said about saying, here's a trick, the card's going to rise to the top of the deck 3 times, okay? You must, and then either they've seen it 1,000 times, or the overall feeling they get at the end of the effect is, they don't care whether it was a tilt move style that it popped to the top with, or like a Sadowitz control. In their head, they just seen it pop to the top 3 times, just pop instantly. So to then you wanna flip it on its head and be like, okay, we've seen this effect now. Let's slow it down and show you exactly what is happening with magic, and then they get to see it happen. And I started doing a few things that I'd come up with, and it was just this like really, like, I can't describe the way it felt, but watching the reactions for somebody seeing what they really believe is the magic happening in slow motion, it's a different way they perceive it. So it's very rare you get that wow moment, or that people like jumping back with astonishment, but instead you get this drawn in, like jaws agape, like look, and then if you manage to like fool them with it as well, then it's almost like this power of, he didn't just show me a magic trick, I actually seen the magic happening. And for me, when I think I must have experienced something like it. I think there was an effect by Paul Harris where, I think it's in the Art of Astonishment books, where, and somebody performed on video where they say, look, we're going to do second deals. I'm going to show you how a magician does a second deal in slow motion. We're going to stick a stamp on the back of this card and deal it in slow motion. You'll see. And I remember watching it being like, oh, that is wild. Yeah. So it was something like that. It was like 15-year-old video. And it was like, for me, it was like an epiphany moment that, well, if we can really do magic, why would we just slam a phone into the bottle? Why would we just throw a card at the window? Like, why wouldn't we be able to show them how it works? And for me, it's that convincing element to it then as well. Like okay, he didn't just do it. I seen how he did it. And that is like their own
still doesn't doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just really pretty. And a lot of my times when I think about how to create magic tricks, I'd imagine what it would look like if I really had those abilities. And it's always been, I wouldn't just put the coin in the salt shaker. I would slowly melt it through, because if you could really do magic, that's what you do it like. You know, it wouldn't be like, it almost feels deceptive to do it quick. Like it almost feels like, okay, I've got a coin bottle, it's in, done it.
Yeah, hiding something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like this feeling of like you feel guilty, or like you've only done it quickly because it was a secret. But if you've got the confidence and the ability to slow it right down and allow them to see it happening, it's like, for me, it's that they believe you, which is more important than anything, I think. And then you open yourself up to being perceived as an entirely different type of magician to what they're normally used to seeing, I think. Yeah. Also, it just looks really cool.
Fantastic.
It just looks really cool.
Yeah, that as well. Are there any creations that are your favourites out of the things that you've come up with that you go, yeah, I do like that. That is one of my favourites.
Yeah, there's a couple of ones that I haven't released yet, but I put them on Instagram. There's one where a card melts through a bill in slow motion, and there's one where it's an ambitious card. I put it up like 2 days ago, where the card is outjogged in the deck and it rises to the top, and all the way like right to the very top with no moves. Those are like my favourite two like personal creations, just because they were ideas that I'd had for, it was like a goal. Like, I want to do the world's most visual, slowest card through bill, or I want to do the ambitious card, but normally when it gets to the top or it's one away, a move happens, or you have to do something sneaky, or you have to push the card back so it's flush with the deck. And it was like, no, I'm going to do it, and it doesn't matter how long it takes or what hurdles I run into, it has to stick to the parameter of this must look like it's a real piece of magic, like genuine magic, and I also have to be able to perform it for somebody in real life. So those are the ones I like the most, because it's almost like the challenges that I've managed to successfully, I think, succeed in. 5 years from now, I'll probably hate them, but right now I'm happy with like those two effects.
Yeah. Does that happen then? Do you think that over time you look back, and because you've changed as a person, as a creator, that you look back on some things and at the time you thought it was great, and then you look back and you go, "Oh, that's not really up to my standard now." Does that happen often?
I look back at I look back at some effects, the way that I handled them. Not normally the principal concept behind the way it works, like the method, really changes from when I find one that I'm happy with, because I spend so long looking for the right methods. But I'll watch a video. I watch one back. It's on a project coming out. I put the old video in there from 2008, and I muted the video because I watched it back and my handling was sloppy, but my accent was really bad. So I'm from Wales, and I was like, if you watch the 8 of Hearts now, it'll jump right to the top of the deck. And it's like things that I watch it back, I'm like, oh, that's so cringe. Like I don't even know why my accent's changed or anything, but it's just the way it is. And I really get annoyed by sloppy handling. Like, so people will do a bill change and they have to flip the bill over. And I think it's important to like think about your hand positions and what you do. So like if you're gonna hold a bill, don't just hold it like a paddle and then quickly turn it over. Think about like how your movements are aesthetically placed in their eyes. So give them the biggest view of the bill. Move your fingers out the way. Hold it at the points that give them the most position to look at of the bill so they can see the most of it. When you do the move, don't just like huddle it to yourself. Like instead of just like turning it over secretly, think about when the move happens. So like if you've got peripheral vision, you're looking at someone straight in the eyes, the peripheral vision sort of ends around here. So think that instead of flipping the bill over here, flip it when it's coming in or out of their vision, because to their head, then they won't see anything. And I think about things like trying to remain my hands in certain positions. So I watched a lot of my old videos back, and I realized how clumsy I was, how badly I held my hands, or how I just didn't think about my handling whatsoever. Or I go to get the part of the trick will need to, the fooling part will need to be that I have to turn the double over at the end, but it must not look like a single. And I'll catch myself doing a pinky break instead of doing another option which allows it to look perfect. So I get quite annoyed when I look at old videos and I think how sloppy I was. And I see a lot of like younger guys doing that now, or new guys doing that now, where they'll learn the trick and they'll rush off to film it for social media, or they'll rush off to perform it, and all they care about is the method and getting from A to Z. They don't care about everything in between. They just care about flipping that bill over. Once that's done, the trick's done. And to me, like, the difference between good magic and good-looking magic and bad-looking magic, it comes down to the absolute finite details, you know, of finger placement, not just for a card slide, but for how much of the bill you're going to expose. How are you going to try and show your palms open at the same time? If you have nothing to hide, why not? Are you going to... There's certain coin magicians out there now, I won't name names, it's not Danny Goldsmith because he's like the best, but there's certain coin magicians out there now that one of the rules are like general rules of magic is if you have a coin palm, you mirror your actions, right? And I see them out there and they'll have the coin in finger palm like this and the other hand will be open the entire time, and I see things like that they're doing now, and I think, oh, like think about what we're doing, you know? I look at my old videos and I'm so guilty of it that I end up like deleting them. Just take them off.
But it comes with improvement, doesn't it? You know, sort of part of improving is knowing that you weren't perfect back then. So I guess that is a good sign that you're able to point out flaws. I guess that's a good thing. You know, I'm now going to ask you about ideas that are impossible. So have you ever had an idea for a trick and worked on it and just found that there was no way? Like, at what point do you think that you can give up on a trick?
That's a wicked... I've never heard that question before, ever. At what point... I'm trying to think if there's a trick that I've totally given up on. I've never given up on a trick, ever, because the ones that I can't get the answer for yet are still like in my peripheral conscious, but there are certain tricks where I'll set these rules. So say I want to take a playing card and slowly melt it through a glass window with no cover. I won't stop working on it until I can absolutely do it with no cop out. There's no like, oh, it is covered, but for a moment I flick my hand really quick. Like I have these certain guidelines for some effects that I'm obsessed with, and I won't stop working on it whatsoever until it looks exactly as the video plays it in my head. So there are tricks that I don't think they're impossible. We can fly people around the world. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing's impossible. Like the thing, you can fly 300 people from the UK to America in 7 hours. Like that is literally, like if you asked me to do that now, I could not do that. But yet, as humans, we can. So there's no trick that's impossible. I'm not one of those people that says like there's no such thing as impossible. But I just don't believe. I just believe that there is a way to do every trick. It's just about discovering it. You know. So I just if it doesn't meet my requirements, then I just keep working on it, and I'm very, very ruthless with that.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good way to put it, I guess.
Any tricks that you've stumbled? Any tricks you've wanted to create and just be like, no, I can't find it yet?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, there's been certain things that that I've definitely given up on. There was one really annoying thing. I won't tell you exactly what the trick is, but I was working on this plot, this card trick, for ages. I think it must have been months and months, and one day I cracked it. I did this thing and it worked, and I was just so happy. I was like, I can't believe I've done this. And something distracted me. I can't even remember what it was. And when I came back to it, I'd completely forgotten what I'd done. And all that months of trying, no matter how hard I tried, to this day I still can't remember exactly how I did this trick.
Dude.
So
I feel
it's lost. It's lost in history now. I'll never get it back, or maybe one day I will. But yeah, that is something that has annoyed me. That I've given up on.
I feel your pain. Like yeah, you think like I've got the right answer. Like I don't need to look any further, and then it's gone.
Yeah, and then a phone goes off and you're distracted and you forget, you forget everything.
I'm not a guy who jots down, or I never used to be a guy who jots down ideas, but I get a lot of ideas, like, it sounds like really pretentious, but I actually get a lot of ideas when I'm asleep, in dreams. I'm not a dick, like, I'm not pretentious. I think it's because I think about the way things look a lot, so it just happens to be in my head. I'm not like, oh, I dream the best. I just think about tricks a lot, so it's just there. And I remember waking up one night, phoning one of the guys, my magic friends, about 4 a.m, and be like, I've solved this problem. And then getting a mouthful off the phone from them, be like, what the are you doing ringing me this time of night? I was like, oh, dude, you need to listen to this, please. And then the phone went down, and I was like, ugh. And then I went back to sleep, and I can't remember what the effect is. I can't remember the method.
Oh, God.
And then from that point, I started writing down, just on my notes, like really terrible descriptions. Like bottle cap goes through bottle loop.
Yeah. Okay, I think we need to talk about Ellusionist. Obviously, that is, the magic company that you are working for. How long have you been working for them now?
Is it the 24th of October today?
Yes, it is.
Exactly 5 years. To the day.
No way.
To the day. Exactly 5 years.
Wow. Talk me through 5 years ago today.
What? Yeah. Sugar. I need to celebrate. What happened 5 years ago to the day? I was living in an apartment, and I'd had my own company called Enigma Limited, and we made playing cards and DVDs, and we did really well. So most startup magic companies just fail within like the first year or two, and it ended up just being really successful. And Ellusionist seen this, and the next few tricks that I had coming out, instead of me releasing them general wholesale to every magic company, they wanted the exclusive on them. So this happened a couple of months before I got hired. So they started buying more and more of me, and then they said they had a project they were working on. Did I have any ideas to make the trick better? And I got on Skype, and we worked, and it became something completely different, and it went on to be a good seller. And then obviously, like, when you create like a product, like they pay for the product, right? So if you have 100 DVDs, they'll give you like $5,000 for it or whatever. And that's like the business is a dirty word, but it's not. But that's what happens. And then I think they realized it was more beneficial for them to hire me and I got on with everyone really well. Like, we all just hit it off straight away. So I think it was more beneficial to hire me than to keep paying me a consultant's fee and like buying product off me. And then I got a phone call 5 years ago to the day at about 1 a.m. from Brad Christian, and he just basically said, you know, you've got the job at Ellusionist. It was like the crazy, because all I'd ever wanted to do was work for Ellusionist. The first time I ever went on the internet, because I got internet late in my house because we were really broke, and so I got it at like 16 when most people had it at like 12, and I had no magic books, I had no magic DVDs, I'd managed to get like 1 or 2 decks of cards. The first thing I ever searched on the internet was magic tricks, and the first thing that popped up was Illusionist, and I seen Brad Christian, and I somehow, whether it was illegally or not, I've managed to watch how to do card magic and how to do street magic and things like this, and then I managed to save up and buy my first trick from Illusionist.
Entirely off the record now.
But I ended up like it was everything to me, Illusionist, everything. And then other companies came out and they were all just like trying to be Illusionist, or like every time there'd be like a custom deck, like they'd start the custom deck market, then somebody else would start, then they'd be the first doing proper gaff cards, someone else would do it, then they would do like the smoke systems that are all electronic and then someone else copy it. And for me it was always like, and some people did do it better with some product, you know, some companies went out and they'd make something which, because Illusionist was the first, these people had the chance to see what went wrong with it and they made it better. And I thought, oh, that's not the company. I don't want to be with any of those companies, because I want to be the ones that's the originals, the authentic one. You know, even if at times like a pure smoke device would come out and people didn't like it because it was too loud, so then it gets ripped off by another company. I think it was Sans Mind, and they make it and it's more silent. But it's like, I wouldn't want to work for any of these guys. I want to work for the guys that are finding these authentic ideas, being the originators. And then I got the phone call, and it was literally a dream come true. And since then, like, this changed literally my whole world. Like, I can't thank them enough.
So, are there any Illusionist products that don't have to be your own, that are your favourites? Again, sort of your favourite Illusionist products of past or future. And if you say one that's not come out yet, I will have to tease you and try and get you to spill some beans.
Favourite products. There's 2 diamonds that I went back to recently. One was the Advocate by Madison. It's just so good, and so it's not underrated, but I feel like people need to remember it. Ice Cold Acan by Mitchell Kettlewell was really good. I love that product, that download. Kim Anderson's Silver Edge is just have you seen the trailer for that, and do you understand how
I've seen the trailer. I've not got around to having it yet.
It blows your coin magic open, because like you can just do stuff that it's just amazing. I love that. And then there's 2 products we got coming out that I think everyone's gonna love. Oh, I like Cypher as well. Me, G, and Will created Cypher, and like, I don't know, there's not many people that haven't got it, and it's quite like nice to have that out there, and I think it's practical. But there's 2 products coming out. One's a Pete Turner one, and it's big. It's a big ass mentalism project, and it's gonna appeal to everyone. It's literally wild. He just shot it in Miami. There's hours of footage, and it's just gonna be like, I wouldn't care what company produced this. I'd be buying it. Like, it's just really good.
That's a statement. Wow, I'm looking forward to that.
I don't mind endorsing any magic that's good. Like the Turner watch is not an Illusionist product. I think it's probably one of the best products of the last decade. Like, I think it's incredible. No qualm saying that, because it's good magic. Anything with Danny Diortis in, get it. It's good, man. I don't care what company it's from. It's good. So, but genuinely, the Pete Turner one. And then the first product I ever pitched to Illusionist when I started the job officially was a gaff deck. Different to any other gaff deck. All slow motion style magic, optical illusions, everything visual, no comedy cards like a king with a skull on it or anything. All like just everything's designed by me from start, and it's all my style of magic basically. So if you don't like me or my magic, then don't bother buying it. But yeah, that is finished, and it's coming out in about 2 weeks. That's all you can see.
Fantastic stuff. Well, I didn't have to wait long before I broke you.
No, I'm not going to show any more of it.
It was quickly shown. Yeah. Don't worry, it's not like this is going on YouTube or anything. So, the last question I'm going to ask, or the last sort of topic, just in general, I've just written in, again, terrible handwriting, I've written, I think it says thoughts on community. So what are your thoughts in general on how the magic community, the wider magic community is at the moment? Do you think it's in a good state or a bad state? So it's probably a little bit of a tricky topic, but what is it like for you at the moment?
It's a divisive topic, but also I think it's not just the magic community. It's the general online world. Like magic specifically, I think the community is incredible. I absolutely adore it. Like the community alone is a massive part of why I still post to social media, because I love magic. Like I eat, sleep, breathe magic. But I'm not so interested in sharing my magic online. I do, because the fan mail, the gifts I get from people, the comments and everything, I feel like in the least arrogant way possible, like people appreciate it, and I end up making connections with people. Like I just spoke to my friend Kendrick Oldenburg, who's from Minnesota. He's like just turned 21, just a real sweetheart heart of a kid, massive Illusionist fan, and like every now and then we'll have a Skype for like an hour. I just got off today with him, and like without putting words into it, I can see that it's just like really like he's whatever's going on, like it just cheers him up and it makes him feel good, and to like that's what I always wanted coming into the magic community. Is like I'd post on forums and stuff, and then when someone would interact with me and give me some time, it would just make me feel amazing. Like I'd be brighten up my whole week. So there's the element of the community like that where people are receptive and they talk and they want to build a connection. Like I love chatting. I like talking to people. That's amazing. You do get like the trolls and stuff, and we live in an era now where just because people say something, other people believe it's true because they like them. And you see a lot of things happen. Like I've been through a whole situation with the whole FU2 deck. I had to make like this whole like 45-minute video like shutting everyone down, and it was like Magic didn't like the community didn't need that. They didn't need to see that like we'd won the argument or anything because of what had happened. Like it's just it become like this like cesspit of it sort of seems like Magic gets bored, the community gets bored, and they need a topic, and it can be a good topic or a negative topic. And the negative ones people can take it too far, but it's just the same as anything. It's Twitter and Instagram and YouTube comments where people in all communities, like the Magic Cafe, when people believe they're anonymous, or if they're trying to defend someone they like regardless of truth, they can become worse than they really are. Like I know a lot of these people that I've seen, not just for like my own case with FU2, but with a lot of other things out there, they will attack someone online and they'll bully them, and they'll just make things up and go really, really, like really dark on people. And then you meet them and you say, what was all that about? Like why did you pick on someone like that? Why did you bully someone online? And it turns out that that's not really who they are. They're actually quite nice, rational people. But when you're sitting at home and you're in your bed and you've got nothing going on and you've had a crap day and you think, I've done it, like where I don't get angry about anything. I don't get like, I'm a very positive person. But like if I stub my toe, I'll be like, fuck! I'll scream, or I'll be really fuming about it. And it's like, you can tell these people, they've gone out, they've had a crap day, and they're like, do you know what? I had a shit day, I'm going to bully you, or it's their friend, and I get it, and I just wish that people would just be open and like just be themselves. If you are a bad person or you're a negative person, cool, but don't hide behind a username,
Yeah, the internet's sort of given people the perfect disguise in a way. They can be whoever they want, they can be wherever they want, and they can say whatever they want, and that is the way of it.
A lot of these people have been bullied themselves, and it's like their way of venting it and frustrating it. And I get it, and I don't chastise them, I don't feel badly about them, but I just think that when you do meet these people, that's why I just adore magic conventions. It's my favourite thing in the world is a magic convention, because you meet people, everyone's got the same interests, we all get along, everyone just loves magic. Like you end up bumping into these people who are trolls or bullies online, and you realise they've got a soul, and then they're actually alright, and then they see the same in you, and you kind of get like, you realise that what was all that upset and hurt about, So but it's the same with everything. So the magic community, I think generally 99% of it is just like the I think it's the best. Like, I don't know any community in the world where you can speak to someone and walk away from it feeling good, empowered, and having a million ideas that you can share with other people around the world. You can make something from nothing with sharing thoughts and ideas, you know, and then you make connections. You can travel the world and fly around the world and hang out with these people. Like, that's amazing. Like, I've literally been all over the world just because of magic. I just think the community is incredible for that alone. And then all the negative stuff, like, I just think these people just need a chance to just be nice or speak to someone.
It's a good message to wrap this up on. Lloyd, thank you so much for taking part in this and agreeing to have this conversation. Got through a lot of topics, but it's been a fascinating discussion. So yeah, just thank you.
I feel like I need to ask you more questions. I can't think. Let me think. Where do you live?
I live in Manchester. Yeah, Manchester.
Oh, I'm gonna be in Manchester on
Fantastic. Why?
the Illusionist Christmas party.
Oh, okay.
I'll message you, and maybe we'll hang out. It's gonna be me, G, Dwayne, Pete Turner, like a bunch of people. Everyone's gonna be there. It's gonna be wild.
Fantastic. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Yeah, this has been brilliant. And again, thank you to everyone for watching and liking and subscribing. Make sure to go and follow Lloyd if you're not already, which is Barmy, of course you are, on Instagram and YouTube and everything.
And sorry if I block you all. If you're not a magician,
yeah, if you're not magicians, you're getting blocked. You heard it here first. And we look forward to your Illusionist release and the other releases that have been teased.
I did not want to like tease products. It just happened that the conversation genuinely went that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry, it's not a sales pitch. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.
So there we have it. That was my full conversation with Lloyd Barnes over Skype. I really hope you did enjoy this. Once again, just a massive thank you to Lloyd for agreeing to do this. Just on the spur of the moment, we decided to record this, and I think it was a lot of fun. So thanks for watching, and if you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future interviews that I'm going to do with other guest magicians. If you've made it to this point in the video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up down below as well, because that really helps me out and it means that other people can enjoy the podcast that you just enjoyed. Hopefully you enjoyed it anyway. I'm jumping to conclusions here. Maybe you hated it, and if you did, you can put the thumbs down. I don't normally say that, but there we go. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.